It's cold again, as usual, and I'm just walking down. It's Saturday morning. Stu's taken Holly to the pool, so I'm walking around to get Harry to sleep. Then I'm planning to stop and have a coffee at just my local cafe to try and finish off Mariana Dimópulos' All My Goodbyes, which is the Argentine novel I've been reading for Women in Translation Month. So yeah, I've only got about 40 pages left to go and I'm really enjoying it. So I'll check in when I'm done and let you know what I think. Hi guys, so I just wanted to give my thoughts on Mariana Dimópulos' All My Goodbyes, which I finished. The book is about a woman who cannot stay in one place. She keeps moving around, and in her case, she keeps moving around from city to city, country to country in Europe over the span of 10 years. And initially I thought it was going to be sort of about like a travelling narrative, but it's not. It's more... I mean, she is a traveller or a nomad, I suppose you could call her, but what she's really trying to escape every time she leaves a place is herself. And that's not a spoiler, that's quite obvious all the way through. And it's a really excellent account of someone who cannot bear themselves, which is quite heartbreaking. But the way it's narrated is so good, it's so perfect for the character. So it's narrated in the first person by a woman whose name we don't know. It starts when she's 23 and goes till about her mid-30s. And it's told in a fragmented style, so the fragments can range anywhere from a sentence to a paragraph to several pages. And each one follows her time in a different place with a focus on the relationships that she's had there, whether it's a friendship or a lover, and basically how every one of those relationships breaks down and implodes from her inability to commit or settle. And what's revealed throughout this is, basically her own psychology, her inability to self-reflect, or not her inability, but her desire to not, she actively does not want to examine herself. It's also told in a it's non-linear, so the chronology is all messed up as well, but I think that really fits with her frame of mind. And woven into all of this as well is kind of a murder mystery. I wouldn't say it's a mystery in the sense that you're looking for clues, but something bad happens in one of the places that she lives, and you find out that is slowly revealed over the course of the novel. And it's so good. There's enough resolution at the end that you feel satisfied about the novel, but it's also left ambiguous enough. I just haven't stopped thinking about it. It was really, really effective the way it was done. And that sort of dark... She's very noisy today. Bluff, just give me a sec. That sort of dark, violent, unsettling undercurrent is also really effective and gives the book just a sort of darker tone, and a more unsettling tone, I think. So I found it really great. It took a little while to get into the rhythm of it because of the fragmented nature of the narration, but it was really worth it. It's definitely so far the best book I've read this month. The others were really good too, but this was really good. This was 4.5, almost 5 stars for me, and I'm a pretty strict 5-star giver-outerer, so yeah, that's pretty good. I think that was all I wanted to say about that one. I really recommend it. I don't know how available it is. I know you can get it here through Giramondo Press, but I don't know how widely available it is overseas, because Giramondo is an indie Australian company and they may have been the only one to publish the translation, I'm not sure. But I really recommend it if you can get your hands on it. It's really cool. I dug it. And I'll check in soon. Hi guys, so the good news is I've got about an hour just to read this afternoon while it's really freezing cold and windy and rainy, which is really nice. So I've just hopped into bed with a hot chocolate and I'm about to start my next Women in Translation read, which is The Vagabond by Colette, which I've actually owned for quite some time. I actually received this in one of those Facebook bookish chain letters. I don't know if you've ever come across them. It's one of those things where someone posts something that's like, you'll get 12 free books if you message me and then send on the information to another 12 friends, and then their previous 12 friends send you a book and you send someone else a book. Anyway, I did that once a few years ago and I did actually receive, not the full 12 books, but I did receive maybe 4 or 5 books, and this was one of them. The idea was that you chose your favourite book to send to someone, and then someone on the other side of the world or a different part of the country at least would receive a book. So this was one of the ones I got, translated from the French, first translated in 1910. I think this is a new edition that was translated in 2010 by Stanley Appelbaum, who is credited on the front cover, which is great. And I've never read Colette before, have been meaning to for a really long time. This book, as I understand, follows Renee, who is 33, and she's recently divorced and now working as a vaudeville performer. And I think she gets together with another guy and she's torn between her freedom and the possibility of marriage and security. And I think she's very bohemian. And apparently it's, considered sort of a prototypical feminist novel, so I'm really excited to get to it. It's also not very long, so hopefully I'll finish it shortly and let you know how it goes. Oh, I also forgot to mention that the bad news is I spilled some of my hot chocolate on the doona. Soz. So it's actually quite a nice day. It's cold, as usual, as I've been saying in every video, but it's sort of blue skies. I think there's a small chance of rain this morning, and then it's going to be clear and kind of sunny, one of those crisp winter days, which is nice. So I'm just going for a walk to get old Harry here to sleep, as usual, and we'll probably stop in for a coffee somewhere, try and get some reading done. As I mentioned, I have started Colette, the Colette novel, The Vagabond, and I'm trying to get through that one for Women in Translation Month. But yesterday I also started Mouthful of Birds by Samanta Schweblin, the Argentine writer, and that short story collection is translated from the Spanish by McDowell. So I'm kind of enjoying that. I'll give you a proper update once I'm not puffing and walking through the streets, but basically some of the stories are great and some are, fine, which I think is the common perception, the common opinion amongst booktubers on that one. I haven't read Fever Dream, which is a novel, but everyone seems to love that a lot more, so hopefully I'll be able to get to that one at some point too. Check and see. Oh, I forgot that this part of the path often floods when it rains. The actual path's not flooded now, but it is very muddy. Am I going to try it? Let's see. My sneakers are going to get dirty. That's okay, I'm going to do it. Don't know if you can hear the squelching through the microphone. Oh, it's right up the water. Pretty rad. I don't know if you've read Cormac McCarthy's Suttree, but if you have, whenever I come under this bridge, it makes me feel like I'm in that novel, and it's one of my favourite books of all time, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to check out now so I can get through here without falling over. There's just so much mud, like even up on the grassy ledge. I forgot because I haven't been walking for a while because it's been raining so much lately and been so cold. I haven't been along this section of the path, which is just like squelch fest. And silly me, wore my white sneakers, so my fault. I feel like the lighting on the iPhone is not doing how pretty it is here justice. Like, it's just so good in this morning light. So we just got home from walking and it was a really lovely morning. It turned out to be really sunny, which was great. So I mentioned that I started reading Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schweblin, translated from the Spanish by McDowell, and it's going okay. I really loved the first story, which was sort of about like vengeful wives whose husbands had left them, and I thought she did a really good job of capturing like the feelings of the women, but also just kind of the system and the pattern in which women are abandoned by men, and it had a very clever ending. But there are other stories in the collection that are much more, they just feel a bit obvious in terms of their metaphors. For example, there's a story called Butterflies in which it's very short, it's only a couple of pages, and it's about a dad who's waiting for his daughter to come out of school, and he's going on and on about how beautiful she is and how she looks so good in her dress. And then the dad catches a butterfly and kills it, and then when all the children come out of school, he sees them all as butterflies, but he's too scared now to look at his own butterfly that he caught and killed in case it reminds him of his own daughter. And the metaphor of the sort of the trapped, you know, caged butterfly, the dead butterfly as a young girl, just seemed a bit trite. And there are a couple of other ones like that, just with a metaphor, like the feminist principles are very sound, but the execution of the idea, like the concepts, are a bit obvious. So that's a bit, not disappointing, but, you know, those stories are just, they're fine. They're not particularly groundbreaking or special. Wow, my dining room table is very messy in the background. So I was just finishing up Mouthful of Birds this morning, the short story collection by Samantha Schweblin. And my thoughts haven't really changed. I enjoyed a lot of the ideas she brings up in her stories. So they were sort of creepy and unsettling and speculative, often quite feminist. In a lot of ways, it reminded me of Apple and Knife that I talked about in my last vlog. But I suppose overall, I felt like the stories, for the most part, were a bit undercooked. So the ideas would be really cool. For example, the title story is about a girl who eats birds and her parents don't know what to do with her. Or another one is about a man who does these really big paintings of heads being smashed against concrete. You know, like weird stuff that's sort of violent. But I felt like she didn't give us enough to interpret them adequately, and so they just felt a bit like, oh, that was an interesting idea, but but kind of just for the sake of having an interesting idea. So I'll still definitely read Fevered Dream, which is her novel, because I hear that a lot of people like that more than they did Mouthful of Birds, and I feel like it might have, I'm hoping it'll have the same sort of unsettling vibes, which I liked, but maybe be tied together just a bit slightly more effectively. Anyway, yeah, it was probably like a 3-star read for me, maybe even 2.5. Like, some of the stories are great, but the majority I can't really remember because I felt like I didn't quite know what to make of them. Maybe I was just missing something. Anyway, I better go because someone behind me is about to crack it. Hi guys, so it's a bit later in the day and I've just had a chance to sit down and read a bit more of The Vagabond by Colette. I'm really, really loving it. I'm only, 20 or 30 pages in, and 30 pages in, and it's really good in the sense it's so... Well, it's also really heartbreaking because basically it's very resonant in terms of its feminist themes with today. So, for example, Renee, the protagonist, is talking about some of the reasons why she left her husband, and she talks about how he abused her both emotionally and sometimes physically, but it talks about how she received all the blame for the breakup even though he was the abuser. And it says, at the time of our divorce, people weren't far from putting all the blame on me in order to exonerate handsome Tayandi, who was only guilty of being attractive and playing around. I came very close to being intimidated and to giving in, restored to my customary submissiveness by all the brouhaha concerning us. What? People said. He's been cheating on her for 8 years and she's only just thought of complaining. And I just thought that is so telling that in 1910, when this was first translated or published, that women were being blamed for not leaving abusive men sooner. And that's still the case today, over 100 years later. So, yeah, it's like pretty upsetting, but it's really well articulated. Not just that issue, but a whole lot of other stuff about being a woman and things like that so far. But I'm only 30 pages in, so I'll keep you updated. And hopefully, I don't think it will take too long to finish. It's not very long, so I'll check in soon. In fact, this is probably wrap up the vlog, because this is the end of week 2 of Women in Translation Month. So I will check in with you next week and let you know how I've been going. And please let me know what you guys have been reading for Women in Translation Month as well. Bye.